No, I'm serious. Think about it. How many times have you heard this phrase? The blood of liberty. Wash it, go. Give me a break. No, I mean it.
Greetings. Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagano. We are back here at Studio 130 for another fun-filled, action-packed episode of the gold standard in Iowa conservative entertainment. John Hendrickson and myself here, ready to give you rapid reaction to President Biden saying something to, I think it was Moms Against Liberty. What's the name of the group? Moms Demand Action. Every Town for Gun Safety today, where he completely butchers the Tree of Liberty.
Yes, yeah.
Must be refreshed from time to time. And also trying to mock it, which was, I mean, you're the historian. Take it away.
Another word salad.
Yeah, that's charitable.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the inspirational leadership of our president. Okay, so at the outset, John, we need to tell folks that we're going to be a little off today because I've moved your seat.
Yes, yeah.
I finally restored you to your rightful place on my right.
Yes.
So I think it's you're going to have to. You're going to have to live up to it today. So we got some new equipment, trying to just see if we can't shuffle things around because we're always trying to give the folks an even better product in the end. So are you going to be able to do it?
I think so. It's a new adjustment, but they say change is
good.
There
are two cameras in your face right now.
Yeah. I apologize for those who are watching.
Okay. Well, no, we want to get you featured as much because the whole goal here is to try and make you famous. Okay. As I told you, John, I want to spend a little bit of time first off today. Look, we've got a lot to cover today. Because it's been at least a couple episodes since we've let you talk about immigration and foreign affairs.
Yes, yeah.
We're going to make sure we give you a chance to weigh in on that. But I want to talk first about, so I saw this for the first time in Axios Des Moines this morning, which was talking about the U.S. News and World Report's latest best places to live list. And Des Moines had dropped a few spots in this list, I believe down to 55. Doubled 3 spots, so a whopping 3 down to 55. And I guess I initially got fired up looking at Axios' reasons why we've fallen down the list. John, do you like living in the Des Moines metro area? I mean, honestly, you're not a native originally, but you've been here a long time. Give me your just honest perspective on Central Iowa is a place to live.
Yeah, I don't mind. I wouldn't want to be in a bigger city than this. Yeah, this is big enough for me.
Yeah. Well, I know that you often kind of start, getting the sweats or something if you have to, move actually into Polk County.
Yes.
Out here in the comfortable confines. So, U.S. News and World Report tries to obviously, these lists are always subjective, but it is sort of data-driven. And they talk about things like quality of life, and then they look into college readiness for citizens and crime, unemployment, average household income, a lot of different factors that go into it. And so actually, Des Moines being on this list, because there's a lot of cities below it on this list, but they say that the job market in Des Moines is better than the national average. College readiness is pretty close to the national average. Crime, we have a very, very safe community here. And things are going pretty well. So Davenport, oddly enough, kind of surprised me, beat us on the list, actually ranked 43rd.
Wow,
it did. Their unemployment rate apparently is better on this. Their schools are not as good. Crime is a little bit worse. But really, I think 3 spots on a list like this probably isn't even worth mentioning. However, some of you, here's from the Axios article, some of you offered possible reasons for our dissent. It's kind of a loaded word, So first one, this is from someone from Waukee. Sadly, I'm not surprised that we all dropped so far on the list because of what's happened with regard to education, LGBTQ plus rights, and so many other quality of life and desirability factors. And person goes on to say, I've had many conversations with friends and family lately about where to move. Next person from Johnston, I would guess that Iowa's score for school and healthcare took a major blow, which it didn't, but okay, they assume so. With recent education funding issues, AEA and school vouchers, and access to health care for women being stripped. This person from Johnston. Again, next person talking about attacked women's reproductive options. Took away the ability of parents to seek medical care for their children without state intervention. Look, first of all, John, normal people don't talk like this.
No, absolutely not.
Progressive activists who get their talking points from, the Iowa Democratic Party talk like this.
Yes,
This is not, I've never had a conversation with anyone in my neighborhood that has used this kind of language.
That's right, yeah.
But anyway, I suppose there are a handful of people that might make a case of where they live based on some of the things that are going in the legislature. I think most people just base that on kitchen table issues. Where's my job? Where are my friends? Where's my family? Where am I from? But I mean, I've got to deconstruct this for a minute, because what has happened with regard to education is we've continued to fund it more and more every year. And we have continued to improve in national rankings. And what has happened with LGBTQ plus rights? Okay. So you can't have porn in the school library. But other than that, it seems like folks are having a pretty good Pride Month out there.
Yeah.
I mean, no, seriously. And I'm not saying that to be derisive in any way. Like, Des Moines pretty progressive place.
I would say that that group has probably more liberties in the public schools than Christians.
Yeah. Okay, going on to what's happened with education, that school and healthcare took a major blow. I honestly, that's not based on anything. Because again, put more money into schools, and the AEA restructuring is just moving money from, one pot to another.
Yeah.
And the ESAs, frankly, I suppose there's people out there that really like that and makes this an even more attractive place to live. I'd be one of those. And taking away women's reproductive options, well, guess what? We still have the same law in the books that we did in the past.
And that is strictly the DNC playbook, because that's that and the issue of democracy being undermined are the two issues that they're going to make this campaign on.
Yeah. Okay, so if this is all based on the acts of the legislature having caused a 3-spot drop on an arbitrary national ranking, let's look through some of the other communities on this list real quick. Number 1 on the list is Naples, Florida, a wonderful place. Is their recent record on any of these issues any different than Iowa's?
Yeah, no, and we're supposed to be copying Florida.
Boise, Idaho, Ruby Red State.
Yeah.
Colorado Springs is pretty great place. Blue, that's fine. We'll give them that one. Greenville, South Carolina, red state.
Yeah.
Raleigh, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Huntsville, Alabama. Am I missing something here? Are these a bunch of really red states that are being looked at as very attractive places to live?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, going into this, I probably shouldn't care, but I went in and looked at the methodology, and these liberal, progressive criteria, the livability and all their little buzzword things, was about 5 to 6% of the total score in this ranking. The rest of it was in these hard metrics that people actually live their life based off of. So, okay, here's the bottom line for me. Iowa is a wonderful place to live. It is it's not your native soil, but it's mine.
Yeah. Yep.
And it is a great place to raise a family. It is a great place to work. It's safe. Our communities are great. Our economy is booming. The future is bright. The only thing is now you have these folks that just want to run it down, not by any real factor, not by any empirical evidence or data. They just want to run it down to score cheap political points.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And I find that a lot of people who threaten to move, like some of these people are saying, seldom do. I mean, they're not. Because
when it comes right down to it, it isn't really impacting their life that much.
No.
When it comes down to it, once you move beyond the political noise, they sit back and think, well, maybe it's not that bad.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not that bad because Iowa's great.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just immediately you have some minor change in this standing, and we've just got to go back to our favorite liberal activists and talk about how awful Iowa is.
Well,
it really galls me.
Yeah, and it's also they have nothing better. I mean, for them, this is all they have to try to criticize the governor and this legislature on.
Right.
Is to look at, this ranking and say, well, we've fallen 3 places because of supposedly terrible policies.
Right. That suddenly we would vault up into the top 10 if we had abortion on demand and everything else.
Yeah.
And again, a 10% increase in supplemental state aid a year or something somehow, and restoration of all their favorite liberal policies.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Okay, moving on. Get to some other fun stuff. Let's talk a little bit, John. I'm going to try and find a segue. You know what? Let's talk about President Biden for a minute. We're not going to get into the Hunter Biden verdict today.
Yeah. Yep.
Just because we just got a lot of other stuff to get to, and maybe we can tee that up for another time. But you were particularly upset about something that President Biden had to say recently.
Yeah, well, I saw a headline this afternoon when I got back from lunch today, and basically he gave a public apology. I don't know if this was today or yesterday, but apologizing to the leader of Ukraine, Zelenskyy, about for the United States not giving enough aid to Ukraine and basically blaming Republicans. And so I just here's the President of the United States apologizing to the President of Ukraine, and I think this whole, and we've debated this before, but I think this whole debate over Ukraine is just getting out of hand, and how they're last week we had the remembrances of D-Day, and of course President Biden went over and gave a speech, and there was some in the media comparing it to that Biden was similar to Ronald Reagan, which I don't agree with, but they were saying that he was similar in his remarks to.
You're a resident historian, John. How many times in Ronald Reagan's 8 years as president did he apologize for the United States of America?
None. I don't recall any.
And I don't recall any that President Trump did either.
No.
That alone, regardless of the issue or whatever it is appalling.
Yeah.
But and who's the constituency here? Who is President Biden speaking to when he's apologizing to a foreign leader?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't know who he is and who he's trying to appease with that. It must be just the I would say the internationalists in both political parties who are obviously supporting more funding to Ukraine and wanting to escalate.
Oh, they're getting their wish.
Yeah.
This thing is we're getting close to the brink here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's fine because we've just decided that it is Ukraine über alles, and we're just going to do whatever it takes, and who cares what the consequences of the cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're getting close. And we're we've forgotten our history that there are certain lines that once you cross them, you don't get to step back.
Yeah.
All for some,
Yeah, and he was lamenting the United States returning to isolationism, which is completely false. I mean, they're using that as a
might not be such a bad idea to find some of those principles.
Yes, yeah,
but that's not where we're at.
No. And then this whole thing about our democracy is at stake, and Ukraine's a democracy, and it just that's one thing I hope people start seeing through this idea that Biden and Democrats keep talking about is the democracy is being undermined and our democracy is at stake, and they're really abusing that term. I mean, it's just unfortunate.
It's about, and we've talked about this, John, it's about the only thing they have that pulls well.
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
They can't talk about immigration. They can't talk about the economy. The things that Americans care about, they're just on the wrong side of. Mm-hmm. And Americans don't trust them on them anymore.
No.
And I guess when you've got a president that's 20, 30 points underwater in his favorability rating, I guess you just go with the one that probably works for a while, but they're gonna wear it out, especially the way that they act on any number of things that are actually detrimental to our system of government, the rule of law. So I'm frustrated with you on that. There was another thing in there, so help me out.
Yeah, well, he last week he issued an executive order on immigration, basically what was meant to basically start turning people away. And it made it look like this had teeth. But again, just like when we talked about the so-called immigration compromise that was trying to go through Congress, most of it was, when you read in between the details, it turns out to be nothing.
Yeah.
And so, again, this is electioneering.
Well, I was told by the president not too long ago that there was nothing he could do on immigration because it was up to Congress to do something.
Yeah. When
they were trying to get a bill through, but now all of a sudden he can act by executive order.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Well, it's only because they see him sinking in the polls and they think that, this can maybe show him that he's tough on immigration. And I hope the American people don't fall for this.
I maintain my same take on that.
Yeah.
That voters sort of instinctively trust one party or the other on certain issues. And they trust usually Republicans on the economy.
Yeah.
Maybe trust Democrats on education or healthcare. I mean, it's just sort of historically kind of the way that falls out. American voters do not trust Joe Biden and Democrats on immigration, full stop. No, and they won't.
No. Yeah.
They broke the system.
In fact, I saw one poll this week, and even President Trump is in striking distance of even pulling ahead of Biden in Minnesota. I mean, that has to be scary for the Biden campaign.
It should, and watch, I wouldn't be surprised if they schedule a campaign stop there sometime soon. Whereas you've got Donald Trump that's doing rallies where was he in New York City? He was in Brooklyn or the Bronx or someplace.
The Bronx, yeah. Yep.
There's something happening, and maybe this is just part of the ongoing realignment in American politics that we've been going through the past 10 or 20 years.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it's the same playing field as it was 4 years ago.
No.
And it sure looks to me like if we voted, today being a Tuesday, we voted today that Donald Trump would win this election.
Yeah.
Long ways to go.
Yeah.
Campaigns to be run. But it's a different field out there than it was 4 years ago.
But it's, I think people are getting frustrated because they see what's going on in the border. They see what's going on with the country economically, and then they see President Biden demand billions of dollars and money that we don't have for Ukraine, and we continue to throw money at this problem. And, there's no money for, next year, if we don't renew the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, everyone's going to have a tax increase, whether you own a small business or you're paying taxes as a worker. We're told that we can't renew those because it costs too much, but yet no one cares about spending billions of dollars giving Zelenskyy aid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yet we can't do anything about the border. We can't do anything about taxes for taxpayers or business owners, but we can still continue to waste money on all this.
Yes, on everything. There's two things going on here. One is just misplaced priorities.
Yeah.
Is that you have national policy being set for all sorts of factors that aren't the direct well-being of the American people. And that's a real problem. And I'm not even saying that's a Democrat thing, because the Republicans are also guilty of it.
Yeah.
But is our focus what's best for the American people? And I suspect that it's not. And not just what's best for winning their vote this November.
Yeah.
What's best for us in 10, 20, 30 years out.
That's right.
Because we are not making those decisions.
No.
The other thing that's going on here is Washington, D.C. is just broken.
Yes, yeah.
And if there was some compelling things that need to get done, I'm not sure that divided government or not, I'm not sure we can get them done. because of just the political dysfunction that exists in our nation's capital. I mean, here in Iowa, the left might not like it, but we're getting things done. And I don't know where the impetus for change or comes from. Mm-hmm. Even, okay, fine, elect Republicans. And American people are hungry for solutions, for action, things that will actually improve things for this country.
Well, I think you brought up this point several times just about the legislature. For example, about property taxes. You know, Iowans want something done on property taxes, and what did the legislature do? This past session, or not, I guess in 2023 it was, they passed a property tax reform bill responding to what constituents were demanding.
Right.
And, the governor has made tax reform a priority and has delivered on that and listening to what Iowans want.
Yeah.
And, Iowans have responded by reelecting this governor and expanding the majority of the Republicans in the legislature. And I think that validates that most Iowans, a majority, agree with this agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. So I have a lot of other things that I'm almost fearful of trying to tackle them today, John, because I just don't know. I think they all deserve their own episode.
Yeah.
But just because I want to frustrate you by telling you some of them that I wanted to go over, I'd like to have a conversation about Iowa's tax credits and specifically business tax credits, specifically refundable business tax credits, and how many of them are going to businesses which are not continuing to invest in Iowa's economy.
Yes, yeah.
Most recently being John Deere
and
their layoffs. And I've got friends they're concerned about what's next at John Deere. And this is real. And do we need to keep throwing tax credits? But I think we can take a broader look at all of that, John.
Yeah.
I want to give you a chance to kind of prepare for that.
Yeah.
We could be looking at, we talk a lot about America First, Donald Trump, and what's going on in the United States, but the movement towards populism and nationalism across the world continues to grow with European Union elections and what happened in Europe. So it's not just an American thing. So I do want to have a conversation about that.
Yeah, we talked about briefly Nigel Farage on the last episode, and the Reform UK Party membership is just exploding as a result.
And then I'm going to give you your homework assignment right here on air. Sometime this summer, we're going to have an episode where John sets forth the political philosophy of Pat Buchanan.
Oh, that's awesome.
The entire episode will be devoted to John telling us what just the system of politics and government as imagined by the great Pat Buchanan. Are you going to be ready for it?
Absolutely.
I want you. I'm going to call on you, and you're just going to have to go, and it's going to be your show.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe bring some memorabilia. I want you to really take ownership of this, and we'll do the whole thing, and it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, that'll be the gold standard of
ITR Live episodes.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Well, very good. Well, thanks for joining us today, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends. And don't forget to join us again in the future when John tells us everything that we need to know about Pat Buchanan. And with all of that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.